Hello guys and welcome back to Kronstadt. Well, in this episode we will spend time on this part of the map you're seeing right now on the screen. My idea was to terraform a landscape in this region behind our city Kronstadt, full of large hills, 2 medium-sized rivers and everything surrounded by the forest of Eberswald, meaning something like boar forest in German. I took the most inspiration from a large bosky region in the southwest of Germany called Odenwald. Here you also got a river, the so-called Neckar, which is flowing through the forest in many curves. Later we will also place some castles on the top of the most important strategical hills, a beautiful detail you must visit the Neckar Valley for. But now back to our game. You already saw me placing some roads on both sides of the river where the riverbed should be. It makes terraforming much easier and gives you an orientation what you have already built. The challenge was to compensate the different heights of the terrain in some parts of this area. Now I'm replacing some of the roads because the space between was not big enough to terraform inside of them. So memo for future projects of this type, leave enough space between. In a few seconds you can see what I meant with the difficulty of the terrain. It took me a few runs to find the best solution for placing the river here. So now you can see it. With the Move It mod, I removed all the trees in this area and placed the water sources. There are 2 water sources for the 2 rivers, one for everyone. And the river flows in the big river and this river flows into the sea. To be honest, the system is not a thing I really understand. So now you can see me using the brush mode to terraform the hills. I decided to raise the terrain with a scattered brush and later I smoothed out this shape of the hills. After I realized that the height of the terrain, where we want to build a little town in a future episode, was a little bit too low, I raised and flattened the area out, which you can see now on the screen. I also left space between the hills to create some little valleys. In one of them, our sawmill will be located. The highway, which was in the forest, at some places leads now in a tunnel under one of the hills. Also, the railway is temporarily hidden under earth. You can see on the right screen. I repeated the terraforming process a few times, which lead to a, in my opinion, interesting and realistic landscape of the hills. But now it's time to leave you with some forest music and the rest of this time lapse. Okay guys, in the moment you're seeing me placing the new rail yards through the hills in a tunnel and later over 2 bridges. This one here comes out of the mountain in the valley next to the other one where our sawmill will be located. With Move It and the blue reminding lines included in the last game update, it was really easy to place the 2 double tracks perfectly next to each other. It's usual for those alpine regions that the rail yards are following the shape of the hills where it's possible due to nature terms. So I tried to imitate this here. Furthermore, the overhead cables align themselves towards the nodes, so everything looks perfect and like it would be one construction. I achieved this by pulling the nodes directly next to each other. Now you're seeing me placing the first of our 2 castles on the top of another hill next to the river, which I called Eberswald, a German name. But we won't detail it today as much as the castle we will spend time on later. Just with some rocks around it for a smoother transition into the mountain. For me it's very important to name everything on the map with authentic names, like the representative buildings in the city, street names and districts. We now go on with our little project for this episode, the abandoned sawmill. So now you're seeing me placing all the props I want to use in this project. A strategy I already used in the first episode when we were building our marketplace in the historic old town. If you are new to this series and didn't watch the first episode, definitely check it out. And also at this point, if you do like my style of building in City Skylines and making these videos, make sure to hit the like button and also the bell icon to subscribe to my pretty new channel. But now back to business. For a moment I left the sawmill for placing the station of our little future town or village at the edge of the forest, so I don't forget the building I wanted to use. You can also see the basic street layout of the village in addition to this little town hall. I apologize by the way for the high number of skips in this video. For future episodes I promise to reduce them. Now I'm building this national road because the village and the sawmill won't have any highway connection, but they will be linked with the city, the main city of Kronstadt, by 2 different national roads and with 2 national roads going out of the map. In Germany the national roads as well as the highways are named after the direction they are going. Those going from east to west and the other way around have even numbers. From north to south they have odd numbers. So I try to stick to this basic rule where I can. Now I'm building this K and detail it with strictoses breakwaters. You will see in a second. After I terraform, now you are seeing it. Strictoses breakwaters and later with a bunch of vegetation. I decided to detail it a little more dense or detail it a little bit because I wanted to check out this vegetation on the river, on the side of the river, but I won't detail every corner of the map in this way because we have a problem at the end tree limit and we also have some future project, so we won't take tree limits or the capacity for trees on detailing just one river. But now you're seeing me putting down or placing down the power lines, which are coming from outside of the map, passing the wind turbines and entering the city into future builds, electric substations. First I thought, sorry for this sound, it was my email program on my laptop. First I thought those wind turbines must also have a connection, But after I checked this by analyzing some pictures in the internet, I found out that they have power network underneath the earth. The lines from multiple wind turbines then are concentrated in one substation or transformer. Here we now got the castle I was talking about earlier. We have the main castle. It's the asset called Schwanenburg, and out of the inner walls we will later have the supplying buildings of the castle. So now I'm placing those rocks to fill in the corner. They are, I think, from Ronix, or I don't know. I don't recognize, but you can check it out in the Steam Workshop. They are pretty new. So now I'm placing down those castle assets coming with the vanilla game. But to be honest, I decided that they don't really fit to this castle. So yeah, I decided to remove them again and find another solution. I ended up with this solution of those European buildings by Feindbild, I guess, yeah, Feindbild, and to make those supplying buildings. To guarantee a nice view from the cafe and cafeteria and beer garden I'm building right now, I removed the trees in a little circle around the castle. Removed the forest, so you have free view on the forest and the valley behind it. I was hardly inspired by two castles in my region, the castle of Guttenberg and also the castle of Hornberg in the Neckar Valley I talked about a little bit earlier. So now you can see both castles I took inspiration from. Now I'm placing those curbs. They are really good to make these green areas between the ways or the walking areas of the castle asset, and those little flowers. Yeah, just detailing this castle a little bit heavier than other areas on the map, because it's our touristic hotspot for hiking and for wanderers. Now I'm going crazy with tufts and with leaves to make the area looking more realistic, and just to detail it. Now I'm placing the tables of the beer garden. They are part of the park people generator, so people will travel to the castle to enter our beer garden. And shame on me as a German, I put Heineken umbrellas. Those cobblestones decals are making the area looking more historical, and also I put some bricks or some cobblestones on the road to make the road looking a little bit older than it really is. For some reason there is a gap in the Schwanenburg asset, but I put down those brick walls by King Lino to hide this gap. So now you don't see it anymore, and we never talked about it. So now I'm going crazy with the surface painter and with the grass decals to make this area looking much more realistic. And I'm placing down some hiking information points, and also some curbs and old oak trees. I think this castle looks pretty realistic, and so now I'm moving on to detail our power lines. And in the first moment you might think power lines are following valleys and big open spaces, but I have already seen some power lines going directly through the forest of the Odenwald in my region, and also going straight up to the hill or to the mountain, and I didn't thought that this would be technically possible, but it is, so I decided to go with the same system. So now I'm placing those rural power lines because they are fitting much better than the vanilla game power lines. Sorry. So now finally we are detailing our abandoned sawmill, and as you maybe have already noticed, the buildings we were building earlier are all gone. That's because there are no Rico buildings, and it was difficult to find buildings that are fitting in this scenario, so I decided to build my own buildings, my customized buildings, with the incredible assets by Beard Monkey. So now we are starting with this little depot for the wood, and later we will just copy and paste the whole building, and we'll replace or we'll place it on another corner of this sawmill area. Here you are using me those assets for a roof, and I took the idea to do this, you will see it in just a second, by Corellis and his incredible tall booth he built a few episodes ago. And with this method you can build your customized roof by using decals and bubbable asphalt. Those grey woods you are seeing right now, they come with the DLC Natural Disasters, and they fit this in this area very, very good, because their grey color makes them looking like they were really old. So now I'm building this roof I was talking about, and now I'm going crazy with decals and with those dirt decals, because it's an abandoned sea mill in the middle of the forest, so it's realistic that it's not cleaned up. And now I'm putting down some tufts around it to make it looking much more overgrown, and also some leaves. And much more trees than there were before. Now I'm placing some car props, some old cars, also by Beard Monkey and in the vanilla game. Now I'm placing some construction props, because first I thought maybe this abandoned sawmill is deconstructed at the moment. But then I decided to remove them, because I remembered that I saw many abandoned buildings in Germany when I was traveling with a train, and believe me, I'm traveling very often with or by train, and that's because no, it's not because, but you see that many buildings are not destroyed, but are just there because it's much more expensive to deconstruct them as to let them standing. Yeah, that's why they are not deconstructed. When we were talking about deconstructing, I recommend you not to delete some roads you already laid down, but sometimes this happens. And this damn terrain. I had to rebuild this roof because by copy and paste the whole building, it stick to the terrain underneath us, and that's because some parts are higher than others. Yeah, but no problem with move it. So now I'm laying down a fence around this industrial sawmill, old sawmill, and it's this beautiful fence in the workshop with a few variations, so it looks a little bit broken up and very old. And again, going crazy with those wood props. Now I'm placing those rural lights. They are coming with a light pack I already used, the street lights in the old town. Yeah. Finally, I hope you enjoyed this second episode, and it's coming now to an end, and I will leave you with the cinematics. Bye bye.